everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look and reviewing Imperial Miners over here. This is from Portal Games, and it is set in the same world as Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, another game in the series. And now we've got here Imperial Miners, a completely different game, really, and a much simpler game in many ways, but using the same sort of humorous illustrations and setting as those games. In this one, you are going to be playing cards out in front of you, digging deeper and deeper into the earth, finding goodies down there, trying to get gems, and activating cards over and over as you make your way back up to the surface. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it works, show you a quick overview, and then we'll come on back. We'll tell you what we think of it. The game's going to take place over 10 rounds. Here we're taking a look at a game already in progress. Each player is going to have one of these boards, and here are the other ones for the other players with a color that represents you right there. You have that token that begins at the bottom of these 3 tracks over here, off the tracks, and then everybody has a hand of cards. You can either draft them or just take 2 of each of levels 1, 2, and 3, and that can be your starting hand if you're learning how to play the game. Then each round is going to go as follows. We're going to flip over a card from the stack and deal with that. It's either an immediate event, an ongoing thing, or something that happens at the end of the round, okay? After that's done, everybody's going to select a card. They're going to play that card, and this can all be done simultaneously. And you are going to pay for the card, this cost right here. Activate that card, and then follow your way up back to the surface, triggering everything you go across. So I'm going to go ahead and take a turn right now and show you what that happens and how that works out. All right. After the 10 rounds, we're going to score victory points. You've got some gems at that point that are going to be worth victory points, with these being worth 1, 5, and 10, respectively, right here. And then for every one of these complete carts filled with gold, those are also worth 1 victory point. There's some cards over here that are possibly going to be placed into play based on card abilities, taking a half cart, such as this right here, putting that there and making that a full gold card, i.e. 1 victory point, all right? But basically at the end of those 10 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. So I'm going to go ahead and take a turn. We're ignoring the other players for right now, okay? I'm not going to set them up. This is me, my color. I'm right here on this central track, and we'll come back to these in just a second. So we flip over one of these cards, and everyone deals with that. So in this case, it's going to be a feature, and it simply says, it's an ongoing feature, the cost of each card is decreased by 4. That is for this round only. Great. And then everyone is going to select a card from their hand. Now, the cards you play are going to be based on levels. They have a level 1 right here, or a level 2, or I've got some level 3s here in my hand, and you can see the little symbol right there for level 3. Plus, of course, it's on the back as well. Any level 1s must go right here below the surface, and you're going to line them up with these cards right here, anywhere you want to, and these edges do not delineate that you cannot go farther out. You can continue growing this way. Any below that must attach to a card above it, though it does not need to be supported on both sides. This would have been a legal play, me playing this card because I get to go through this one to go to the surface. And you are going to make sure that the cards are offset, as you see here. So this is also not a legal play right below another card. It has to be offset like this. Once that's done, like I said, we will trigger some abilities. So on my turn, I'm going to take a look at my cards here. They have a cost, like I said. They have a faction and some ability, as well as some gold cards, halves, that I possibly can line up and activate for scoring. So I'm going to get a discount of 4 on this turn. That's very good. I think I'll go ahead and play this one right here. It has a couple of factions. It has barbarians and Egyptians on this faction. And it costs 4, so it's going to be free for me. It's a level 3, so that means I need to play it at level 3. And in this setup, it can either go here or it could go here. I'm going to go ahead and put it right there. Neither one has any gold cards, so it doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to play that there. I pay for it, which is free, and then I activate the ability. In this case, it says I place 1 cave-in token on this card, and I advance up to 8 spaces. So these are the cave-in tokens. What they do is they block this card from working again next time I would activate it. In fact, next time I trigger it, I simply remove the cave-in token. And then advancing denotes taking your token and advancing up a track. If you are not on any of them, i.e. at the beginning of the game, you choose where you go, and then you can move up to that number, in this case up to 8. Wherever I stop, I'm going to get an ability. And if I make it all the way to the top, I'm going to trigger this ability and go to the bottom of a different track. Multiple players can be on the same one, that's fine. So I'm activating this right here. And I'm going to advance up to this stop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason I did not go the full 8 is because anything I bypass, I don't get that ability. It's only where I stop. So this one says gain 2 gems. That's 2 victory points. I'm going to go ahead and take those. I'm now at 6. So I'm also going to go ahead and make some change. And now I've got a green and I've got a blue. So a 5 and a 1. All right. That's done, and now that I've activated this card, I follow my way up to the surface, triggering anything else I go through. This one over here, it's a Kraken Pond. It says I gain 1 coin and I gain 1 gem. That's another victory point right there. Here I have a choice. I can either go this way or I can go this way. This one over here says I gain 1 coin, or if I have 4 or more different factions in my mind, I get 2 gold coins. Well, let's see. I have 1 faction there. I've got Egyptians. This one has no factions. And I've got barbarians, but then Egyptians again. That's only 3 different factions. That's not going to help. And then this one over here says, I gain 1 gold coin, or if I have another Egyptian card in my mind, I gain 2 gold coins. I do. I have another Egyptian card right here. So I'm going to go this path and get 2 coins for that. And then I go to the surface. Now, the surface has 3 abilities, and no matter which card you're activating, they're all attached to all 3 of these abilities. This first one here says get 2 gold coins, so I gain 2 coins. This one over here lets me spend coins to advance on these tracks. So say I could spend 4 or 8 to advance up to 2 or 5, respectively. And I get to choose where I stop. The up to is up to me. Or I can do this one over here, which is draw 3 cards, and then I have to check my hand limit, which is 8. Whenever I draw, I can draw from the 1, the 2, or the 3, or any combination, but not these 4s. These are special. Some things will give them to you, and they're all identical. You don't have to shuffle this deck. They're all going to look the same. They are going to have gold on every one of these spots at the top. They cost nothing, and they always just give you 2 victory points. So again, these are all identical cards. So now that I've gone all the way up through here, and I'm at the top, I'll choose one of those, and perhaps I'll do this one right here. I'm going to spend 4 to advance up to 2. So I spend my 4 coins. I advance to the very top of this one. And it says, activate any non-Egyptian card in your mind. Good. Let's take a look and do this one right here. It's non-Egyptian. I gain 1 coin and 1 victory point. And then it specifies, place your progress marker on the bottom space of any other progress track. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom of this one, which features a lot of coins. So I'm going to be getting a lot of money as I make my way up that track. Having done all that, my turn is over. I make sure that every other player has finished. And then we go to the next round, where I reveal a new card. We contend with that one. It has a new ability. Again, it's an instantaneous or an ongoing or an end of turn thing. And all the players once again pick a card, place it, activate that card and everything above it as you make your way up to the surface. And this continues for 10 rounds, all right? Some of the spots on here will let you gain money or gain gems, which are victory points. Some let you draw cards from the 4 stack over here. Some let you activate other types of cards. And in fact, when you set up the game, you pick randomly which side of these 3 columns you want to use, because they are different on the back. So this one has technology, but perhaps it would have been military, which is a different track with different abilities as you make your way up. All right. And again, they stay in play, whichever side you chose, for the entire game. At the end of the game, I count my gems. I count my completed gold trucks there, my little carts. Add that up, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. All right. That's Imperial Miners. So when I first heard about this one, just the fact that it was set in the Imperial Settlers sort of, again, universe, we use that a lot, but I was intrigued. I was captivated by that.
I didn't notice until just now that it actually says Imperial Settlers, like really teeny.
It does, right there. Yeah. And it's good. I think it's a good way to do it because you don't want this to look like an expansion.
It avoids that completely.
I agree. I think you managed to make this look like its own game by having that, be there, but it's very subtle. It's its own thing. And it really is its own thing. That's the other idea that sort of hit me when I first heard about the game. That the main push, sort of the main, I don't know if you'd call it innovation, but the main thing it does is, you can re-trigger cards over and over. Yeah. Because the first time you build the card, you trigger it and anything above it. Cool. But then you build below that card and you trigger the new card and anything above it. So as you pass over cards again and again, you keep doing the thing they do. And that's pretty cool. I love that. Many of the games I enjoy have a similar idea. This idea of investing in something and, once you've put it out there, you could possibly continue sort of flogging that ability.
Right.
In this one, it caps out because you can only go so deep, right? There's really only effectively 3 levels, maybe a 4th level. But I still enjoy that ability. That's a cool mechanism.
And I think the fact that it caps out because you can only go the 4 levels, it doesn't bother me in this one because it's only 10 rounds. So even to have it go to the 4th is challenging. Hasn't happened in all my plays of this. I haven't made it to the 4th level each one.
Oh, you're bad at this.
Really? Because I definitely won the last one.
Nope.
No, you didn't.
I beat her on a tiebreaker.
No, I did. I had I had more coins.
Nope.
I did.
Chris was there.
Check my BG stats.
Roll the tape that I doctored.
No, I agree with you. The 10 rounds and the whole thing, I'm glad you re-trigger things because the game is actually really short.
It is.
Yes.
10 rounds is quick.
Even if you're sitting there, and I like the idea that you can deviate path. That's what separates this from card reactivating mechanisms like we've seen in things like Deus, where you make a stack and then you activate the stack. Because you have that little bit of deviation. I've seen players kind of mull over very quick turns, and even when someone's like, oh, should I go this way or that way? Because then I can activate the one above. Even when someone takes a while on their turns, it's still really fast.
It is fast, yeah. And you're right, Chris. I like that the cards have to be shifted between two, like half off. Because, then you have those little moments, those little, and they're small decisions. Speaking of a player mulling over what they're doing over there, mumbling to themselves, there's a decent amount of that in this game because the game is very multiplayer solitaire.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of all the players sort of pay attention to the beginning of every round as someone flips over an action card and you do something. And then, okay, I'll check in with you in about 90 seconds as I trigger everything on my own, get some coins, move up on one of the tracks, whatever. And then you kind of look up and go, you're still going? Okay, you're still going. You're done. Okay. Okay, we're good? Okay, here we go. Next action card. So there's a lot of that. And if you are someone who is bothered a lot by multiplayer solitaire, I could see this one bothering you a little bit.
I absolutely can. It doesn't bother me. That's not a bad word to me, is multiplayer solitaire. I don't have a problem with it. It kind of felt a little bit like Earth in that, not as endorphin drip as Earth, but that kind of you're doing something and you're triggering, you're like, ooh, and your turns are fun as you're making those decisions and just going up and picking your trigger line, if you will. And so I really enjoyed that, and the fact that it's multiplayer solitaire doesn't bother me. But it does lead to one of my issues with the game is I think it's easy to make mistakes because you are so in your own board. I think graphically, the cards are difficult. Not difficult, it's right there, but it's not obvious what level each card is. And so I play a level 2 on a level 3. I think one time in the first game I played, and I've seen that happen a couple times now, where it's like, oh, I'm going to play this right. Oh, I can't, or they don't realize until they've already built on top of it or something like that.
Sure.
So I just think the different levels, because the cards have a level on them and can only be played at that level, and I just don't think it's as clear as I would like it to be. And if everyone has their head down on their own board, mistakes are probably going to happen.
That's the thing. I think it's actually pretty clear. It's like a first player, first time trying kind of mistake. And you're right. I could see that happening, certainly. It's something I would immediately catch, but I'm not looking.
I'm not, right?
Right,
or when someone starts building offset, then starts building straight down, 3 turns into the game, I'm no longer looking, making sure everyone's okay. Just kind of playing.
Yeah.
Round 7 of the game, I look up and someone's like, okay, well, you just keep playing that way for now.
We're not going to go back.
Yeah.
And there's no way to retro it at that point either, because you've already played off of that. You can't be like, oh, whoops, last round I didn't get a coin I was supposed to. Cool, grab a coin. It's much more complicated than that. You can't retro, those mistakes.
But I will say, I think the game is very simple to play. This is not a hard game to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
It's simple, it's straightforward. In fact, I think some people are going to find this game, especially if they're Imperial Settlers players, simplistic. I think they'll go, this is like a junior version of that. You know what I mean? And I can't fault that train of thought. I think this is an incredibly straightforward game. There's a lot of sort of, theme. The core of that game has been pulled over thematically, at least. You got barbarians and the barbarians collapse stuff for great rewards. The Egyptians, this other faction over here, they really work well with their own cards. So they keep
Scots
getting
have
discounts. The Scots,
Yeah.
great. I love that they were able to pull that from the other, games in this line. But it's an incredibly simple game. This is kind of an intro, level design. One that I could see being good for families, being good for folks that are starting to get into gaming.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's very simple, but there is the complexity in looking for those synergies of the cards and, again, choosing what way you're going to trigger.
Sure.
And so I think it being simple actually helps the game here, because you're not worried about the rules when you're playing. You're worried about your strategy, and you're able to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're not holding on. Can I do this? Is this legal again? How does this thing over here work again? You're not having any of that. It really is, what's going to tie in best here? How do I set my little carts up, best? Does this fit here? And what line will I trigger in order to set up my next turn to make sure I have enough money to pay for what I want to do and where I'm going?
Right.
So you really can focus on that part of your own play.
And it's so simple, but there's enough going on. If it was just those cards and activating the cards, you might say it's too simple. But even that little minecart thing, if you want to try to line up 2 full halves, that's just one extra nice little thing to sit there and say, I want to play this card out, but that's not a good spot for it. So maybe I'll wait around, fish up some new cards, see if there's a better one that can really take it. I have 3 potential points just sitting there, and this card would give me 0 of them.
Right.
It's not brain burning, but it's going to give you pause at times and say, I'll try a different route. I'll try a different thing.
Yeah, there's little things to think about for sure. Even the top level of the mine having 3 abilities. And every round when you finally make your way back up to the surface, you pick which of the 3 you do. I really like that.
Yeah.
It's very giving.
It's very good. It's like, a couple of coins. That's an easy one. Okay, I need a little more money. Boom, boom, couple coins. But then when you draw cards, you're not going to do it that frequently in this game. Drawing cards, you know what I mean? When do you do it? What deck do you draw from? And then advancing up on the tracks. That's costly, but you're going to want those rewards. So no, I agree, there's plenty to do. I just think, again, it's a simple game, relatively speaking, compared to Imperial Settlers especially. Anything else we want to talk about here?
I don't think so.
I think you got to be careful in these types of games, or in any game where you're using those metal pieces. Like, I really like those gems. I think that's really cool. When you have blue and green gems sitting next to each other, because they're not painted, they're like that same thing that was in Red Rising, was the comparison I made. The Red Rising
they're kind of like
Deluxe Edition.
shiny little plastic baubles, and the green and the blue are very similar.
Right. It's easy to kind of mix those up. It's like, well, you have 5 points already on the first turn. No, I have 1. But
Interesting, okay.
that's the only little negative production note I would say. Otherwise, I think it's a well-produced game. Looks great. I love the art. Love the humor. You can just kind of stare at a card for a while, and if someone's taking a little bit of time on the turn, you're just like, look at that guy. Look at it. Oh, he's got an inflatable flamingo. This is great.
Right.
Yeah, and the
It is
humor,
interesting.
like the text on the card, will tie to what they're doing. There's a lot of humor in here if you look for it, and you might have, like Chris said, a little downtime to look at your cards. So, there you go, Chris. What are you giving this one?
Score-wise, I'm giving this one a 7. I like it. I have a lot of fun with it. It's one that I think does several things right. There's an event deck, and yet it's almost always positive and fun. one of my
Yes.
least favorite things in an event deck where it's like, barbarian cards cost 7 more this round. And you're like, well, that only affects me. No, all that's positive.
Yeah.
Lining up the things, building the minds, I think that's good. There are other games of this like kind of lighter class I would lean to first, but if this one looks like it's inviting to you, enticing to you, I'd say pick it up.
Yeah.
You're gonna have fun playing with it. You might say at the end of it like, oh, that was a little bit quick. Play it again. It's that type of game.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So yeah, 7 from me.
I'm going to come in at 8 on this one. I really enjoyed it. I'd had some little quibbles with it, the graphics, that kind of stuff. I think it can get a little AP at points, and because, very short, very light AP, but it feels like if everyone else is done, you're like, oh, sorry, I was still thinking, okay, I'll do this, and you just kind of feel a little rushed. And a lot of that's because you are in your own player board, and the turns are so quick. So if you have a longer one, it feels double as long. So little quibbles like that, but at the end of the day, I like this type of game. I love these tableau builders where you're coming up with some sort of engine and you're triggering it as you go up, trying to maximize that. It's just a really rewarding game, especially in about 30 minutes. I think, we did a 3-player game, and you're looking at 30 minutes. We knew how to play, we were able to get right in. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It seems like the great amount of time because it is a light game and it fits that 30 minutes. Whereas in 30 minutes, I did everything I wanted to do. I did my 10 rounds. I feel fulfilled. And I'm done. It's just, I think they nailed a lot of little things like that. So I very much enjoy this and would see myself recommending and bringing it to the table often.
Yeah.
It leans just on the right side of, I wish I had an extra turn or 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I want a game like this to end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm coming in right between you guys at a 7.5. You're saying the 30 minutes you just brought up is a very good point because this game it has a lot going on for 30 minutes. There's a lot of games that are 30 minutes that are not going to give you a lot of those little decisions you were talking about, Chris, and a lot of these, engine building stuff like you were mentioning that just don't have the time to develop that. This manages to give you that in about 30 minutes. And you know what? It's going to scale well because we're all doing it at the same time. So you can play this with 2, you can play with 4. It's still about 30 minutes. It's 10 rounds, that's set. And I really like that. I think the ratio of time to return there for entertainment, for sort of the little moments of thinkiness that you're given for 30 minutes, what you're getting back, I think is great. Yes, Imperial Settlers is a thinkier game. There's more there. It's also at least half as long, if not more. It's normally more than that. So I think this is a winner. If you are someone who is looking for a game that has that great ratio of length to sort of interest and investment, this Imperial Miners here is a good one for you. It's going to have a lot of neat things. It's humorous, but the game is well put together and doesn't make fun of itself. You know what I mean? It's a solid game. I like the vibe. I like what's going on in this one. So it's a winner.
And I think that leads to a broad spectrum of people who will enjoy this game as well. Gamers who are looking for a heavier filler and people who just play with their family. Like, this is a great family game as well, I feel like. As
Right,
you
and this
said.
will be like the top of their sort of what
Right.
they're interested in playing. You play Uno, whatever. Maybe we'll play Imperial Miners today.
Right.
And have an interesting, thinky session.
Yeah.
Still short, right? Because the kids are going to start to lose interest after a while. But they'll be engaged for those 30 minutes. They'll have plenty to do,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So there you go, folks. That is Imperial Miners. High score on this one is an 8. That is a seal of approval. So make sure you check this one out. We all recommend it. So that's it. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee.
Go look for some gems in the ground, kids.
Go dig.
Outside. Go in your backyard and dig up things.
Eat some earthworms.
Ugh.